wabarakatuh. Okay, today I would like to presentation about my material, and the title is Language, Dialect, Idiolect, and Varieties. This chapter is study of communication through conventionalization that seem to be implicated in sociolinguistics research touching on dialect variation, register variation, gender identification, and verbal interaction. Hudson defined a variety of language as a set of linguistic items with similar distribution, a definition that allows us to say that all of the following are varieties: Canadian English, Latin English, the English of football commentaries, and so on. A variety can therefore be something greater than a single language, as well as something less even than something traditionally referred to as a dialect. Ferguson offered another definition of a variety as any body of human speech pattern which is sufficiently homogeneous to be analyzed by available technique, synchronic description, and which has a sufficiently large repertoire of elements and their arrangement or process with broad enough semantic scope to function in all formal context of communication. Okay, next, Hudson and Ferguson agree in defining variety in terms of a specific set of linguistic items or human speech patterns. Presumably, sounds, words, grammatical features, extract, which we can uniquely associate with some external factor, presumably a geographical area or a social group. Okay, language and dialect. Linguistics have struggled with the definition of a dialect of a dialect for decades. Unfortunately, there has never been a truly clear guideline for distinguish between a dialect and a language. Simplified concepts such as the idea that mutually intelligible varieties are always considered dialect of the same language can be easily disproved with a number of counterexamples. Scottish English and Boston English may not be mutually intelligible, but they are both dialects of English. Most speakers can give a name to whatever it is they speak. On occasion, some of these names might appear to be strange to those who take a scientific interest in language, but we should remember that human naming practice often have a large unscientific component to them. While people do usually know what language they speak, they may not always lay claim to be fully qualified speaker of the language. They may experience difficulty in deciding whether what they speak should be called a language proper or merely a dialect of some language. Edward defined dialect as a variety of a language that differs from others along the three dimensions: vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation or accent, because they are of the same language. Hagen points out that the Greek situation has provided the model for a later usage of the two terms, with the resolution ambiguity. Language can be used to refer either to a single linguistic norm or to a group of related norms, and the dialect to refer to one of the norms. The situation is further confused by the distinction the French make between an dialect and an patois. The former is a regional variety of a language that has an associate literary tradition, whereas the latter is a regional variety like such a literary tradition. Therefore, Fetois tends to be used pejoratively. It is regarded as something less than a dialect because of its lack of an associate literature. Even a language like Breton, a Celtic language still spoken in part of Brittany, is called a potaise because of its lack of a strong literary tradition and the fact that it's not some country's language. However, dialect in French, like dialect in German, cannot be used in connection with the standard language. No speaker of French considers Standard French to be a dialect of French. In contrast, is it not uncommon to find reference to Standard English being a dialect, admittedly a very important one of English? Bell says that a language has the following criteria, and the first is standardization, and the second is vitality, and next is historicity, and then autonomy, and then reduction, and then mixture, and then de facto norms. Okay. After that, regional dialects. As you travel through a wide geographical area in which a language is spoken, and particular if that language has been spoken in that area for many hundreds of years, you are almost certain to notice difference in pronunciation, in the choice and form of words, and in syntax. There may even be very distinctive local coloring in the language which you notice as you move from one location to another, such as distinctive varieties are usually called regional dialect of the language. Dialect geography is term used to describe attempts map the distribution of various linguistic features so as to show their geographical provenance. For example, in seeking to determine feature of the dialect of English and to show their distribution, dialect geographer try to find two questions such as the following. Okay, when the English of speakers in different geographical region and from the different social group show systematic difference, the group are said to speak different dialect of the same language. The dialect of a single language may thus be defined as mutually intelligible form of a language that differ in systemic wise from each other. There are two kinds of dialect. They can be regional dialect and social dialects. Regional dialect is geographical based. It means that a dialect that differs because of geographical area. The difference can be in terms of pronunciation, choice of word, and syntax. Okay, and then any social dialect. A social is stand for social dialect that has meaning as a variety of language, a register, associated with a social group such as a socioeconomic class and ethnic group, frequently termed Ethnolect, an age group extract. studies in social dialectology, the term used to refer to this branch of linguistic study, confront many difficult issues, particularly when investigators venture into cities, migration both in and out of cities is also usually a potent linguistic factor. Cities also spread their influence far beyond their limits, and their importance should never be underestimated in considering such as matters the standardization and diffusion of language. Okay, and the last is idiolect. Idiolect notion of linguistic individuality can be traced back to the early formalist discussion of language and linguistics. The most notable of such early studies is Fowl, in which a language orients in an individual mind, and therefore the individual should be the focus of scrutiny. The role of the individual is also highlighted in Saurus 90 HT40 in the distinction between language and parole. Saussure argues that the execution of language is always individual and refers to this as speech. Therefore, distinguish the language system itself from speech actually produced by individuals. In doing so, the work highlights that we can distinguish what is general and social from what is individual. Saussure presents individual linguistic variation as a window through which to analyze personality traits of speaker. This work seeks to disambiguate elements of speech that are social norms and those that are reflective of individual expression and personality. Contemporary to that work, Bloomfield also draws a distinction between the speech community as a collective and the individuals of which it is comprised. Bloomfield notes that one of the difficulties in determining which people belong to the same speech community is that no two people speak exactly alike. The term idiolect is widely accepted to have been first used in Bloch to refer to the totality of the possible utterance of one speaker at one time in using language to interact with one other speaker. The article Since Bloch, the find of idiolect have varied, as some refer to language system available to the individual and others to the samples of language actually produced by the individual. Hockett, for example, is similar to Bloch in defining idiolect as the totality of speech habit of a single person at a given time, distinguishing habit from observable behavior. On the other hand, Martin defines idiolect as the language as spoken by a single individual. Okay, everyone, and the conclusion is variety is a language that has same sounds, word, grammatical feature, a general terms for any distinctive form of a language or linguistic expression is language varieties. Linguists commonly use language variety as a cover term for any of the overlapping subtext category of a language, including dialect, idiolect, register, and social dialect. Dialect refers to a variety of a language that can signal the speaker regional or social background. Dialects are subdivision of language. The term of dialect refers to grammar and vocabulary or lexis. Dialect is divided into social dialect and regional dialect. Regional dialect refers to a place, and social dialect refers to social group and class. Okay, style relates to the typical way in which one or more people do a particular things, and registers can simply be described as variation of the language according to its use, while the dialect as a language variation based on user register. On this concept is not limited to the choice of words such as the notion register in the traditional theory, but also include the choice of the use of the text structure and texture. Okay, and I'm sorry for my bad word. The last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.